Lovely. So, welcome back everybody. We're just going to do a quick recap for those who were here and those who weren't of what we kind of went through in our first sort of Fat Loss Forever seminar. We spoke mainly about how that fat loss is not linear. You know, you've got to expect fluctuations on the way. It's kind of like a bouncing ball, but if you put a straight line through it, it would go straight down. But it's just to make sure that you don't freak out if the scales do or go up slightly. It doesn't mean that you're not succeeding. There's many things that can go into that. The idea that self-monitoring is key. So a bit like Nero just mentioned about tracking. That's either tracking your calories, weighing yourself daily, tracking your daily activity, those things. It's one of the things that we put on the wall about self-monitoring. The 3 things that consistent, successful dieters, so the 5% of dieters who are successful long-term, they are the things that they do consistently. So we've got to, rather than just go, oh, all 95% diets fail, so don't bother. Actually, let's look at the people who are successful. Let's maybe try and copy them and see what they're doing. Hopefully we got through that consistency is greater than intensity. So we could all go on chicken, broccoli and rice for, I think maybe it could last a week. And I might lose a load of weight, but I'd be miserable and I would jump straight off it into ice cream, whatever, you know, all the things, all the joy in your life. So you're better to, as we kind of mentioned, the Twinkie diet, you're better to probably keep in these foods that you actually enjoy, but you just make sure that you work within your calorie target. Therefore, you're more likely to stick to it for longer than, you know, just cutting all the joy out in your life and just trying to knuckle down and doing your best. And then the last thing was that calories count, always. Like, you can get drifted away by hormones. A lot of the confusion marketing at the moment is all about hormones. Hormones only steer the car, so they might affect behaviors and mood and stuff, but calories in, calories out is still the main driver of fat loss. Oh, and we always want to train to be strong, which you guys already do because you're here. So, what we want to talk about today is some of the hidden levers that you guys can use to help you kind of keep this stuff off for life, essentially. Little kind of tips, tricks, ideas that you guys can take and hopefully use to kind of, you know, this is not just a diet phase for an X amount of time. It's like actually, like Lizzie's goal for this year, and like Nura's as well, it's actually, you've done all the hard work now. Now it's actually, you want to make sure you keep it. You don't want to go back to where you were before. So hopefully we already understand what works. Now we need to master how to stick with it. So fat loss is actually about your daily habits and not just hacks or short diet phases, okay? I don't know if anyone's heard of the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. I'd highly recommend it. We have it in our library back there if you want to take it out. So you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So what does that mean? It's like, it's not, motivation is not going to be the thing that's going to get you to where you go to, because people tend to be motivated only when things are going good. Right, they feel good, they've got good energy, they've got good mood. Most people are quite enthusiastic when they start a diet. They're like, oh yeah, scales are coming down, I feel great, energy's up. And then you get 3-4 weeks in and you're like, oh, I missed out on this, I missed out on that. Now I'm starting to get tired. Oh, I didn't sleep very well last night. Oh my God, and then the wheels fall off, right? Everyone's been there, okay? So what we want to think about is, what are the systems that we can set up or the environment that we can create so even on your worst days, you're still sticking to whatever, 80% of whatever your goal is, right? That is the kind of key thing. So some of the lessons that I took anyway from Atomic Habits were, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your system. So like I said, motivation goes, it does. It is just part of doing it. Done, yeah, in you come. We've just started, it's all right. Well, ish. Cool, come grab a seat. We're just talking about, have you read Atomic Habits? I would highly recommend it. But here's like the cliff notes, basically, okay? So we're basically talking about how you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So we kind of spoken about it. We know when you get back after work trips, actually your life and routine at home is great. It's set up to help you towards your fat loss goals. That is an idea of systems that we've set up so people know what to do. Environment and structure are the things that are going to win. So it's having about a typical routine, having the right kind of foods in your environment. If healthy food is visible and convenient, you'll eat it. If it isn't, you won't. So a fruit bowl, it's like one of the cheapest things you can get that's probably going to encourage you to eat more fruit, because if you see it, you're just going to eat it, right? But if you have a bowl of biscuits out on the sides or very visible on the side counter, you're more likely going to go and gravitate towards that. Okay, so it's not to say don't have biscuits, but maybe just don't have them visible. Have other things visible. So if you're going to grab something because you're hungry, you're more likely going to go and grab some fruits. Like I said, leave a fruit bowl out, you're going to eat more fruit. Put your chocolate in the cupboard, you'll eat less chocolate. Okay, design beats discipline. Okay, so for me, I have to have my supplements out on the side, otherwise I kind of forget to take them. Right, so I leave them by the kettle. Because that's the first thing I do in the morning. I have a cup of tea and I'm like, oh, there are my supplements. Just easy, take it. If they're locked away in the cupboard, you're more likely going to forget, and then you get halfway through the day and you're like, oh crap, I forgot to take my supplements. And then that happens again, and you know, if you do it twice in a row, then it probably becomes a bad habit sort of thing. So you don't want to miss 2 days in a row. The other thing as well is that small improvements compound over time. So even like the littlest things, like the tiniest little habitual change will add up over time to something great at the end, okay? So even if it feels like the tiniest thing, like you drank 1 extra glass of water today, and you're like, it's only 1 water. It's like, okay, but you can build on that. If you eat 1 more piece of fruit each day, great, you've eaten another piece of fruit. That's more fiber, more nutrients, all that kind of stuff. Even though they seem little, you can build on them over time. Because sometimes actually you need to eat, 7 to 10 pieces of fruit and veg a day, and you need to be drinking 2.5 to 3 litres of water, and you need to be training 4 or 5 times a week and doing your cardio and sleeping this amount of time, and all that is so far away from where you are now, it just feels like intimidating and less likely you're going to do it. So how do we just like creep our way towards that? We just do these little tiny habits building over time. But the idea is that we might get you 80% of the way there, but that's probably going to be where you want to be. Cool. We're going to talk about how to eat, which may seem like the simplest thing that you learnt when you were very little. So this is Mabel, it's my daughter. This was actually this evening. I thought the photo was brilliant. So she's trying to look like me, basically, going with the sort of goatee. Obviously, how to eat it almost seems a bit pedantic and quite frankly a bit rude, basically, saying you guys don't know how to eat. But a lot of us now, in the environment and the way that we live and the go, go, go attitude we have in this country, eating has become a bit of a inconvenience, should I say, especially people who are working as well. It's like, oh, okay, I've got my lunch break, I've got half an hour, but if I whack this sandwich down in 5 minutes, then I can get back to work and get things finished so I can go out later. We've kind of forgotten how to eat, essentially. The reason we want to talk about how to eat is because there's quite a few different factors that come into it. So without even changing what you eat, if we actually focus on how you're eating, you're more likely going to get better appetite control. So eating slowly actually allows your body and the hormones in your body that tell you you're full to come up. So you will more likely stop when you're satisfied rather than stuffed. Do you know what bears do when they're just coming up to hibernation? To put on as much weight as humanly possible, they eat food as fast as they can. So if you want to be like a bear to save yourself up for hibernation, then eat as physically fast as you can, okay? The next thing is it actually improves our digestion as well. So chewing our food, not just like necking it back like a seagull, is also going to massively help with your gut health, with how your food is digested, with how much nutrients you're getting out of it, with your energy levels, all these kind of things. So really simple tip is, and it's actually surprisingly challenging, is try and chew your food 20 times. You'll try it and you'll be like, 20, easy. You'll get 5 in, you'll be like, oh my God, there's still 15 to go. Like this is my constant work on, is slowing down. Like having an older brother and having to get back out in the garden and play just ruined me from that sort of point of view. Also as PTs, we're also really bad as well. We might have like 5 minutes in the back between a client if we're lucky. So me, Ricky and Paige are all just back there just like launching stuff down. Not very good, but don't do as I do as I say. That's what I'd say. They've actually found when people slow down, it can actually automatically lower the amount of calories that you consume. Okay, because you're getting those satiety signals that are coming through, because you're getting more out of the food that you're eating, as in you're digesting more. So even, like I said, without changing what you're eating, you might actually be able to just reduce your calorie intake by just slowing down, okay? Another thing I've heard is pretend you're the queen eating. Would the queen be rushed eating her lunch? Would she fuck? She would be taking her time. She'd be taking little bites. She'd put her knife and fork down. She'd probably converse with someone to this side, converse to that side, and then she'd go back to it. It would just take her time, right? I think the more if we're trying to act like royalty when we're eating, rather than like us, the peasants, then I think most people would just kind of slow down how they're eating, okay? The other thing, and I think this is slightly linked to people who have dinner and then just want that little bit extra, you know, just a little sweet treat after dinner. I actually think it brings a bit more food awareness because you're not distracted, because you're actually there eating your food. So not watching telly, not on your phone, none of that kind of stuff, actually watching your food going in. I feel you get more satisfaction from eating slower as well. And if you have the opportunity, eating together, slowing, you know, at dinner table. So very fortunate, my mum and dad always, home cooked meals, we always had to sit down and eat as much as I didn't want to because I had something else better to do when you're, you know, 10, 12 or whatever. But it's given us good habits that we're now trying to put into our daughters as well, is when we have dinner, we all sit down at the table. So if you have someone to be able to sit down with, even if you don't, just actually sitting down at the table and making it a thing is probably going to slow you down than just whacking the telly on and eating on the sofa. So all kind of good habits that you can look on how to eat, and they definitely matter. The next thing, and I think we kind of touched on it last time, is protein, the importance of protein essentially. Where is it on our thing? Oh, on our fat loss fundamentals. It's the second one down, right? So we talk about finding your caloric deficit, however that looks for you. And then we want to think about protein, okay? So protein is a macronutrient. It's about 4 calories per gram, so it's relatively low. It helps keep you fuller for longer, so it's high on the satiety scale. The one thing that is high on the satiety scale that isn't actually protein is white potatoes. So you know, like new potatoes, they're almost as high as protein. So if you really want to fill yourself up, go for potatoes. Just a little tip there. But protein keeps you nice and full. It helps with building muscle. It's one of the things that we can't produce ourselves. So there are 9 essential amino acids we have to get from foods. The other 11 we can kind of find in stores ourselves, but we need to have protein relatively consistently throughout the day. So you want to be spreading your protein with every meal, ideally, okay? It boosts metabolism, so actually 1/3 of the calories that we eat through protein are burnt up in digestion. So you could technically argue maybe it's actually closer to like 3 calories per gram. Ideally, you want to be aiming for, our kind of target is 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. However, with those things, and like I mentioned earlier, if you're way off that, if you're like 0.8, then get to 1. Get to 1.2, get to 1.4. Build yourself up over time. Don't just suddenly go, I'm doubling my protein intake because Nathan told you. It's actually like, no, we want to creep you up there to find a level where you're comfortable, you feel full, you feel satiated, you're recovering well from sessions, and you're maintaining muscle tissue whilst you're in a diet or trying to lose fat. Ideally, for most people, their first meal, we suggest that you want to have some form of protein because it's kind of quite hard if you're only eating 3 times a day or 4 times a day, if you miss the first one, it's quite hard to hit your target after that. So ideally, some kind of high protein breakfast is a good way to start, and then you're already on the ball. Some examples that we would put out there. So ideally, you want 1 gram of protein per 10 calories of food that you're going to eat. So some good protein sources are stuff like 0% fat Greek yogurt, really good, 10 grams of protein per 100 calories, so really good. Chicken breast as well. Oh, what happened there? And we're back. Come on. There you go. Chicken breast, whey protein. I think I mentioned whey protein, most people think is a supplement. I would probably count it as a food. I'd look at it more as a food than a supplement. It's super low calorie for really high protein. So it's one of the best. Cottage cheese, low fat cottage cheese, those kind of things. Any lean protein sources are what I would generally recommend to most people. And we'll talk about that in a second. Some okay things are stuff like protein bars. They've become really popular in the last 5 years, maybe. Grenade bars. They're okay, they're relatively high calories for the amount of protein you're getting. If we're really objective about it, they taste like cardboard. Like, they don't taste that good. Like, a Mars bar is probably way better. A Snickers is actually better than a protein bar. But it's that confusion marketing. We've been sold protein is the thing to do. So most people will go to that. I would say, if you're at a loss and you haven't got anything else, maybe a protein bar's fine. A lot of shops now have these little protein drinks, 25 grams. of protein, for actually less calories than that. So that's probably more into the strong protein sort of source. I'd probably go for one of those over a protein bar. But, you know, if you're at a loss, if you really like cardboard, then go for it. That's absolutely fine. Poor protein sources, and again, we'll get into these very shortly, are stuff like peanut butter. It's a fat, it's not really a protein source. It's super high calories for the amount of protein that you're actually getting. Same with nuts, same with like hummus as well. And then other things as well are, we'll talk about that in a second. But so our main rules when we go for is aim for about 1 gram of protein per 10 calories. Ideally choosing lean protein sources. The main reason being it's probably higher protein, but also less calories, which will give you more options for other things that you want to eat. So if we want to have this flexibility where we want to have an ice cream after dinner, then maybe if I've saved some calories by going 5% beef mince instead of 20%, I could put those calories to an ice cream and still hit my calorie target, but have a bit more fun along the way. That's kind of how I look at it. It gives you a little bit more flexibility if we're going for leaner sources. And be aware of, and this is the marketing thing definitely in the last 5-10 years, is added protein stuff, right? If something's got added protein, it probably still isn't that protein high. I think Weetabix have got added protein, Weetabix. I think they've gone from 4 grams of protein to 5, right? But they're more expensive and they're more calories, right? So it doesn't really make much of a difference, but just be aware if you see something with added protein, like granola, there's definitely protein granolas out there now. They're still super high calories for the amount of protein you're getting. So generally go for more like meat, fish, dairy, those kind of things. They're just going to be better when you're trying to choose a protein source. Where do we go? Calorie swaps. Right, I've gone with the shepherd's pie. Can anyone tell me the difference between these two shepherd's pies?
Is that a shepherd's pie or is it a cottage pie?
Well, that's a good question. I can't remember which one I went for. I think this might be cottage pie, actually, because it's not lamb. Nothing looks different, right? It's the same picture. I'm just being pedantic. But if we look at the ingredients for the first one, this is like your typical 4 servings of cottage pie, shepherd's pie. Beef mince, olive oil, onions, carrots, tomato puree. Everyone knows cottage pie, right? All these kind of things. And that comes to around about 830 calories per portion, 38 grams of protein, all that, etc. This one over here, we have made a couple of adjustments on some of the ingredients, but pretty much it's like for like exactly the same. What we've got on this one though is, like I said, 830 calories per portion. This one is 520. So we've actually saved ourselves about 300 calories from something that looks identical by just making a couple of little swaps. So what we did is, shepherd's pie, not cottage pie, is we changed the beef mince, we changed it from 20% to 5%. That's a super simple swap. I just only get 5% now. That's literally all I do. We've reduced, but not eliminated, the amount of butter that we're using. We've changed the cheese to light cheese instead. We're using olive oil spray instead of actual, Jamie Oliver style olive oil. And we've added actually some extra bulk in there by adding vegetables, mushrooms, peas, these other kind of things as well. And basically what that does is that has changed it by about 1,200 calories between the two. That's 300 calories less per serving. If you did that every week, once per week for a year, it would be about a 16,000 calorie reduction across the year. There is some theory that 1 pound of body fat has 3,500 calories worth of energy in it. So by doing that, potentially that one swap per week may be a reduction in 4 to 5 pounds of body weight in a year. Just by that simple switch. You're still getting shepherd's or cottage pie, but by making that simple switch, you've just saved yourself some calories. So there's probably loads of meals that you guys all cook, you know off by heart, you don't even have to check the recipe. There are things that you do at home. If there's anything that you're doing regularly and you can think, where could I make that one change? I would say it's always worth it because it's still the same meal. So you feel fine because you're like, I'm not missing out on cottage pie, but you're able to reduce the caloric intake when you're doing it. And if that's the simplest switch you can make, like nobody likes change, everyone gets a bit freaked out by it. Let's try and make as little change as possible and still make it look the same or at least taste as good with reduction there. So I'm sure people have other ideas or other things they already do as well, but that's one of the things that I would do. Oh, Lawrence, could you do me a favour? In the fridge, there's a load of food in there. Could you bring that out? So this was Jack's question that he had last time, wanting to understand food labels, which is very valid. Something, again, this is stuff that I just know, and you forget sometimes other people don't know it. So I will pretty much most times I go into a shop, just have a quick browse of the food label. So hopefully give you guys an idea of some of the stuff. I just bought some random items, things I'm probably either going to eat for lunch tomorrow or just hand them around. Everyone can grab an item, see something. I think there's a couple more bits as well. So you can just see. Snack time, yeah, exactly, yeah. Got a Tesco's meal deal, got a couple of bits, you know, a couple of things. So this is really key because food labels can be, again, purposely confusing. They're really sneaky. They can say one thing on the front and you're like, oh, that's really good calories. And then you actually either look at the portion size or you look at the actual, what the caloric intake is, and it's not what they're saying. So Costco do a really good avocado oil spray. I would generally recommend oil sprays, right? But it's an American brand, and on the label it says it's 0 calories. How does that work? It's 0 calories per quarter second spray. It's cheeky Americans here, but we're not far behind. 0 calories per quarter second of spraying, right? What quarter second is like that, right? I actually measured it out because I'm a bit of a nerd. I put it in on the thing and I did a typical normal kind of spray, right? It was closer to like 25, 30 calories, not 0, right? But if you didn't know that, you just assume, oh, I'm just having 0 calories, it's fine. Spray all over your food kind of thing, just thinking you're not. So sometimes we just want to be aware or give you guys the skill set to be able to just look at a label and understand, okay, what is actually going on? So you might see in this country, we've got the traffic light system. Kind of looks like this. Front labels give you a really brief overview of the nutritional value of the product. However, this can be misleading depending on your goals. So red doesn't necessarily equal bad. Again, you've got to be mindful of what you're eating. So certain things might have slightly higher salt, slightly higher fat and saturates. So like bacon, for example, but I really like bacon, so I'll include it in my diet. But I make sure that it fits my caloric target, right? So again, it does come down to the calories at the end of the day. But don't just assume if it's all red that necessarily it's all bad. Again, you've got to make sure it fits and works for you. So I think the reverse label, is going to give you a bit more of an overview of the food, right? What I'm looking for generally when I look at these things is energy at the top. So we're looking at calories, right? It usually has kilojoules and then kilocals. Kilocals is calories, right? So this lovely chocolate cake has, it has 322 calories per 100 grams. They will usually always put 100 grams of something or some kind of division of that, 10 grams, 100 grams, whatever. And then they'll actually tell you each slice how much that actually contains. So make sure that you're looking at both columns to make sure you actually know. Because again, you might go, oh, chocolate cake, 320 calories, that's not bad. Actually, it's 150 more than that. So just being mindful of that kind of stuff. And then the other bit that I might look at as well is the fiber and the protein, right? Now, obviously, a chocolate cake is not a high fiber or protein source, but it's something that I might just kind of check out when I'm looking at something. So I think that's the 0% fat Greek yogurt. What's that? That's per 100 grams, it's like 100 calories, something like that. 54 calories, even better than that. Lovely. How many grams of protein? 10. Awesome. Lovely. So 200 grams of that, 110 calories for 20 grams of protein. That's pretty great. Throw a scoop of protein powder on that as well. Then you double that. You're almost at 40 grams of protein with one meal. That could be your breakfast. That could be an afternoon snack. Throw some fruit and berries and stuff on that as well. Beautiful. But these are the kind of things that I look at. Ricky Page is this sort of similar stuff. Lawrence as well, if you're looking on nutritional labels. That's where my eyes tend to drift towards is right, caloric intake and then quickly check in, maybe fiber, definitely protein on that. Cool. Does anyone have any questions about nutrition labels? Anything else they want me to go through just on here? No? All good? Everyone's an expert now? Lovely. One thing I will mention, they've got the RI for an average adult. So I believe women it's 2,000 calories a day, men it's 2,500, and that is the recommended average adult caloric intake. For most people, that is so far off what they actually need. So this is where the individual kind of calorie tracking for yourself, rather than setting yourself a calorie target, if you track what you're eating, find out how many calories that is, monitor whether you're going up or down, that will give you a better idea of how many you need to maintain, drop, gain weight, right? But 2,000 for a female, especially someone like Nuria or Lizzie who are pushing just 5 foot, you know, after that. Sorry. But as you are smaller, as there is less of you, your caloric requirements are less. Unfortunately, I am bigger, therefore I have more caloric requirements. This is why most wives get annoyed at their husbands, because their husbands stop dieting, they drop X amount of pounds in a week, and it takes the female a bit longer. It's generally that more muscle burns more calories at rest, so that is generally the thing with that as well. But yeah, 2,000 is miles off. Like I'm currently in a diet, I'm on 1,800 at the moment. Like, so it's 2,000, 2,500 would be probably maintenance maybe for me, but I'm relatively active and this is my job, right? So I do some stuff. But yeah, just be mindful of the recommended daily allowance. It might be very different for yourself. Cool. Sleep, always talk about sleep. Somehow always bring it up. Love sleep. So something I'm really lacking as well at the moment with a 6-month-old. Thank you, Mabel. Sleep is one of those things that you need to really focus on if you want to create the foundation for your health and fitness goals, right? Sleep is the thing that will make you have more energy, more motivation, recover better, have a clearer head, be able to think clearer, be able to train harder, improve pretty much all your health outcomes, all health metrics. Blood pressure will be lower, resting heart rate will be lower. Like, it's the wonder drug. If a pharmaceutical company could create a pill that gave you what sleep gave you, it would blow GLP-1s out of the water. Absolutely. It is the thing that you need to focus on. If you have the opportunity and you don't have a 6-month-old in your bed at the moment, I'm not bitter, it's fine, then try and focus on improving your sleep, right? So poor sleep, generally the next day will lead to more hunger and less willpower because you are tired and irritable. And your hunger hormones do go up if you had a bad night's sleep. Sometimes actually knowing that helps because you can catch yourself. You'll be like, oh, I haven't slept very well. This is what I'm doing at the moment, right? That's how I get through it. Is I'm not sleeping great, but because I'm aware of that, I'm like, I do feel hungry now, but if I wait 5 minutes, I'll probably feel fine. One bad night's sleep can lead to, if not noticed, around 300 to 400 extra calories eaten the next day. And if you layer that and have chronic bad sleep over a long period of time, you can see how people can tend to get into that sort of bad habit as we go. So yeah, most people don't need more motivation, they just need better sleep, right? But how do we get better sleep? The most important thing is the environment first. Like, what is the room that you're sleeping in? Is it cool? Is it dark? Cool by mean temperature cool, not just like, wow, this bedroom's cool. Temperature cool, is it dark? And is it gadget free? No phones in the bedroom. Get an alarm clock. We don't need your phone in the bedroom, because what happens if you have a phone in your bedroom? You're on it just before bed, and then you're like, bang, right, go to sleep. And then you might wake up in the night and you're like, I'll just check my notifications, and then it's another half hour into the matrix, and then put that down. Keep your phone outside your room, okay? Ideally, you just want an alarm clock in your room. That's the thing that's going to wake you up. I really like the light alarm clocks. Paige, you've got one as well? Yeah, light alarm clocks, love those things. Game changer, yeah, it does. It just gently wakes you up in the morning because the light comes on about half an hour before your alarm. So it's a bit more like sunrise. I think you can have tweeting birds as well, so you can make it really like, yeah. Personally, that's how I try and keep the room, putting the phone in the kitchen to charge was a game changer for me. So that's the first thing. Obviously having a decent bed, good cover, good mattress, all those kind of things, but making sure it's cool, so you don't want it too hot. Making sure it's dark, so no lights in there ideally. Blackout curtains if you can get them, and then making sure you've just got no gadgets apart from your alarm clock. That's all you need. Then the next thing, and this is the thing that I've really been working on and trying to encourage clients to work on this year, is the routine, right? The consistency of wake up time makes such a difference. If you have the same wake up time every day, your body will get into that routine of waking up. We've got this thing called a circadian rhythm. It's this 24-hour natural body clock. What happens when we go to a foreign country? Let's say we all fly to India. That's where my parents are at the moment. We all fly to India. They're 5.5 hours ahead. What happens to all of us? We all get jet lag. Right, okay, cool. So what most people do Monday to Friday is they'll wake up at the same time because they've got work. And then what do they do at the weekends? They lie in. So usually they're up at 6 a.m. and then they're like, oh, I'm really tired. I'm just going to lie until 9 a.m., maybe 10 a.m. Ooh. Then what happens when they get back to Monday? It's basically they've created social jet lag, right? Because they've shifted their wake up time so drastically between the work week and the weekend, it actually takes like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to get back into the routine of waking up. So for me, and not everyone has to do this, but because myself, Paige, Ricky, Lawrence, we're all up early, my alarm goes off at 5:30 and I try and do that every day because I just know if I wake up at that time, if I'm really lucky, I'll get half an hour of peace before the girls wake up. If not, at least I'm up and I know that Monday is easier to just get up. Like I'm almost getting to the point now that I'm waking up before my alarm. Kind of got into that routine, okay? You do not have to choose 5:30. Pick a time that works for you. Ideally, you want it to be within like half an hour of maybe the weekend. If you want more sleep, go to bed earlier. That's my general advice. Try and keep that wake up time as consistent as you can. That's how your body gets into the routine. And if you're constantly chopping and changing, your wake up time's different every single day, you'll always feel tired. It doesn't matter how much sleep you get, so quantity really doesn't matter if you're constantly changing your wake up time every single day. So I cannot push enough how important consistency is. The last thing is supplementation. Now this is the one thing, I always say supplements is the top of the tree, right, when it comes to fat loss, but actually for like sleep, there's a few things that can be really helpful. Magnesium, definitely one. Biglycinate is just one of the most bioavailable. Citrate is also pretty good as well. L-theanine is actually found in green tea. It kind of has a calming effect. Pantothenic acid is one of the B vitamins as well, also helps with sleep. These kind of things can be just the extra little kick you need as well, just to help you go into a deep sleep. They don't make you sleepy, they just give your body the building blocks it needs when you go to sleep, okay? So, cannot push the sleep routine enough, right? Right, we kind of spoke about it or touched on it earlier about creating the environment and how long adaptation actually takes to see. So our body does change, but it's quite slowly, right? It's slowly but surely, okay? So one workout and one healthy meal is signaling to your body that you're trying to change something, but it isn't going to be how you're going to become, right? How great would that be, right? You just come in for one session, you're done, you've got a six pack, you've got arms, your legs are great, all that kind of stuff, brilliant, right? How good would that be? But we adapt over time, right? We are the most adaptable species on the planet. That's why we're everywhere. That's why we're all the way in the Antarctic and we're all the way in the Sahara. Like we can handle whatever life throws at us, right? But we want to make sure we create our adaptation happens over time. So if you took someone from the Arctic and put them in the Sahara, they're going to really struggle and vice versa. But if they walked across and got their way there, they might be able to adapt over time. So that's kind of how I look at adaptation is. It just takes time. So you've got to have those repeat signals over time, right? Hundreds and hundreds over a long period of time. So for like Lizzie, it took a year, right? It took a year to get down to where you are now. For Nuri as well, it took a year to get there, right? And it's very hard to imagine that at the start, but it's just do the next thing. Next day, next step, next step, next step. It's really hard to imagine the big picture at the end, but you just got to do those little tiny things over time. That's how you get that positive adaptation. You are the average of your habits, right? So I have a few clients who love to sit down a lot during the day. Jack's one of them, but he's got an excuse at the moment because he had his ankle replaced. They like to sit down the day and then they come to me and complain that their back hurts. Like, okay, how much sitting did you do yesterday? I was probably sat down for 10 hours. Okay, right, the average of your habits, right, is what's going to dictate. We can do 2-3 hours of work on your spine here and make you stronger, but if you are just sat down being bone idle for 10 hours, then it's going to make your back sore, right? It's the same thing when it comes to if you're trying to lose fat, if you're trying to lose weight, you've got to make sure that you're the average of your habits. You've got to be active, eating right, exercising, all these things. That's how you're going to become the person that you want to be, right? Oh, yeah. Oh, one more. Ding, 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 ding. Any subscribers to my newsletter may have heard about the Peace Lily principle. The Peace Lily is actually the other transformation hero today. So that lily just over there by Lawrence, has actually been with me since day one of setting up NG. And it basically hung on for about 2 years on the edge of death. I would, like, if I remember to, I would see it wilting and be like, oh shit, I should probably water it. Never changed the soil. It was in the old office in the side, so it got barely any sunlight, and it was just kind of like barely staying alive, okay? But what happened when we moved in here, my mum was like, we can't have this, it's got to look good. So she very kindly repotted it, so we gave it some new soil. I'm much more consistent now with watering it. We've put it in the right place, so it gets just the right amount of daylight. And in about the last year or so, it's probably flowered about 7 or 8 times. So it's actually come back to life, okay? So it had 2 years where it was barely holding on, surviving. We changed the environment, we gave it better food, better light, better water, and then suddenly all this potential for growth just came out, right? And for me, that is just hopefully a little analogy of if you put yourself in the right environment, you have the potential to become the thing that you want to be, right? So that is the key thing with this, is your body will adapt to its environment, not your intentions. The ability, that plant always had the ability to grow and flower. It just wasn't in the right environment. It didn't matter how hard it tried, it didn't have enough water, it didn't have enough light, it had an idiot owner who wasn't looking after it, right? But we put it in the right environment and then it's gave it the right conditions to now flower. So hopefully, I think one's on its way because it's looking pretty good at the moment, so. Right, one of our star pupils, Lizzie, who is here, who very kindly said, yep, I can post up her weights and her measurements as well, yeah. So Lizzie has been training with me for 11 years now, 11 years. And we have done a fat loss goal before where what was the lowest you got with that one? 2021?
I think was
65,
no,
66?
Not even that low.
Oh, not even that low, right. 70? Wow.
Yeah.
And then Lizzie came to me last January and was like, sod this, I can't let this happen again. We've got to nail this one, right? So we kind of embarked on this plan of like, right, Project Lizzie, how are we going to get her in the best shape she's been and keep it off, right? One thing that Lizzie was very, very good at was the self-monitoring. I think Lizzie's probably been the most consistent person who's filled in our app like every single week, weight, steps, and general mood checkers, right? So we can just see every week, we have all this lovely data that we can watch. I'll get it up next time, but we've got this really nice chart of weight loss over time as well. That was the key thing. So that's why Lizzie was able to get down to here. She's built up the skill set over the years. So you've done like Weight Watchers, Slimming World. Slimming World before, so you've built a bit of skill set from that, understanding that. Then you've worked with me and understanding caloric intake, protein, how to create that sort of habits and environment for you. And that is how you have basically consistently got to this sort of point as well. If you don't mind me mentioning about Paul as well. So the other thing as well that kind of changed Lizzie's environment, going back to environment again, was Lizzie's partner Paul has actually been on GLP-1s for the last 6 months? 6 months, okay? He's lost a lot of weight in that time. Pausing at the moment.
It doesn't really matter, but he's on it for his diabetes. He's a GP, he's being monitored himself.
Yeah.
Isn't it quite simple?
But the interesting thing, and I don't know if they realised this when they created the drugs, but the knock-on effect was that you ended up eating less because Paul was eating less. So it shows your environment, your partner, whoever's at home, if they're eating less, you're probably going to eat less as well. That's why it's important to make sure either your partner's on board, so you're both on the same journey, or your partner's not hindering you from doing what you're doing. But I do wonder if they've factored this in with all these drugs will this actually have a knock-on effect to the partners of people taking it? It may or may not. It'd be interesting to see, but from our one case study, we have found that has been really helpful for you.
My graph was really funny because my graph was doing the slow, and then when he went on it, it's still the same. There's no drop.
Yeah.
But it just changed.
It just, increased. It got steeper, yeah.
Wow, it was really quite funny.
Yeah. So it just it shows that the environment that you've got, where your home is, what you've got at home, all the foods that are there and available to you, that will really dictate the outcome of what you get. Is there anything that you want to, because I kind of put up, you've lost 16.5 kilos and you've been managing your hip as well, because that's been playing silly buggers for the last year, about a year. Lizzie was very consistent, like never trying to be perfect, always came to me and tell me like, oh, I've been on a movie set. Lizzie's got a really cool job. She works on movies, right? She'd be like, been on a movie set. Oh, and they had this great stuff here, but I chose the lean protein source and then I got the salad as well. But I had a little bit of cake, but I really enjoyed it. I had a good time at the time. And it's great because I'm like, awesome, that's amazing. You've literally ticked all the boxes of what we want you to do. That's how you've managed to, without speaking out of turn, is that how you've kept consistent over time?
Even last week I showed him what I ate on set last week.
Yeah.
And I showed him this Korean chicken and they kept the sauce separate. So a lot of film sets now are keeping the sauces off the meat so that you can have the plain. So yeah, protein was the changer. I didn't know anything about protein. Well, I did because I'm a nurse, but I didn't realise how
yes.
important it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the problem for me is still sleep because my alarm goes off at 4:45. Like this week, 6.
All right, it's not a competition, all right? Come on, all right. It's not a competition. Yeah.
Well, I could, and I wake up about 5:30 naturally anyway, but I can't get any consistency because every single day I'm on a different job. And it's
But you've had 32 years of being an A&E nurse?
yeah.
So you've done night shifts, so this is probably more consistent than you've ever been, even though it's not consistent, if that makes sense. There's no night shifts anymore, so yeah. So that's a big changer. Again, you will survive, I'm surviving, I'm still here, if you don't sleep that well. You can get through it, humans are really good at not realising how tired they are or how underslept they are. We're actually really good. I assume it's a protective mechanism, right? So your brain's not freaking out the whole time. But apparently we're really good at just adapting to our new level of fatigue. So sometimes you don't even know you're really tired or not, whatever, but you just adapt to it. And then suddenly you sleep a bit more and you're like, oh my God, I was so tired. I had no idea. We adapt, right? Like I said, we're really good at adapting. So awesome.
Lizzie, when you were bringing down the calories, were you always slightly hungry, or how do you manage to? Because I go through waves, and then suddenly I'll be really hungry, and I just find it hard to stop.
This year was a massive increase in protein intake, which I've never appreciated before. And I eat a lot more sort of chicken and ham and stuff. I stopped eating so much bread and went into more like the pita breads and the the Warburton thins, used them instead to drop the calories that way, but we're still having carbs.
Yes.
And I've always loved veg, that was everything. But yeah, protein. And I do still use the protein shakes for breakfast, but I never did breakfast. So funnily enough,
Do you have the 50 gram one?
No, 30.
No.
I use a 30.
30, there's a big 50 gram there.
Yeah, but for me, the sort of caveat to that is I never had breakfast. So I'm now eating the breakfast, even though I can't tolerate food at that time of day. I'm having something, like you said, I'm having protein at the start of the day. And I'm not eating on set, I'm not eating cake at 10 o'clock. Because I'm on set at 7 and it's like, and it just filling full of crap on set. So protein.
Yeah, protein, it just makes life so much easier.
And
Just
him each week and not feeling bad about the days when I ate the cake,
Yeah, exactly. Like, hopefully, it's nothing wrong with eating cake, right? There's context behind all the foods that we eat. Okay, so we make no judgments on what people eat. It's more about understanding either what led to that decision. So if you got out of control and you were starving and you dived headfirst into the cake and you ate half of it, it's like, oh, okay, right, we need to figure out, okay, what led up to that? Okay, you were hungry, tired, irritable, you'd had a bad day, all those things. Cool. It is what it is.
I could throw away comments, people say, oh, your face look great, and if it's not a big conversation about the background, I just say, yeah, it's this new magical diet, it's just called, if you eat less, you will lose weight. And I'm like, well, it is, it's 8 words, and it'll make me millions. That's it. Just don't eat as much of it, but have the same stuff.
Can I ask you about tracking? Because my biggest issue is tracking. Sometimes I'm really good. I will track.
Yeah.
And then that's it. I've had enough.
I tracked
logging in.
No, I did it forever, and then I didn't need to, because now I know what the values are.
It becomes a skill.
So much, and I look at labels, and I'm not so bad with the labels. Some things throw me, but I did it for so long.
Yeah.
I can almost do it in my sleep now.
It's a skill. It is that's why I always think it is value, even if numbers aren't your thing or the tracking is a burden. It's always worth doing because then you get a real understanding of what portions look like, and then it becomes like at the moment I am not tracking. I'm I've got 1800 calorie target for myself, but I know the foods that I eat throughout the day kind of hit that target. I don't need to track yet. As we get closer to our photo shoot, I will get more and more accurate because I need to, because I'm going to be tired, hungry, all those kind of things. More likely to.
What I find helps is work backwards. So plan your dinners and track your dinners at the beginning of the day, because then you know how many calories you've got for the rest of the day, and it makes it much easier. That's how I personally do it, because what happens is I overeat, and then I'm like, got no calories left for dinner, and that's when you're like, oh my god, I'm so hungry because I can't eat anymore.
Yeah.
So if you put your dinner in at the beginning of the day, you can almost work backwards. And I found that people that I've given that advice to find it easier as well.
It's also probably hard for Daniela. She is half Italian or full Italian, and food in Italy is like they are synonymous, right? Yeah.
Olive oil, spring,
Yeah.
drink it.
Yeah. So it's very hard because again, the Italian style of cooking is a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You know, it's not.
For me, it's getting my fitness pal, getting the core pad, scan it, weigh it. I mean, it's just that drives me insane. But I know
Do you have your scales out on the side?
I do. I have the
Okay,
small ones
good.
and the big one.
Cool. And then you pretty much eat quite regularly though, right? Yeah. So you have.
I know, but it's just trying.
You can add meals into my fitness
Yeah,
pal, so
yeah.
you can create your meals. So if
Yeah.
you eat similarly,
Yeah.
you can just add the milk rather than
Having to redo it each time, yeah.
Rather than being like, right, I've had 100 grams of this, I've had 100.
Yeah.
Like, you can actually add the meal with the quantities that
Okay.
you have as well, and that really helps.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same on that as it is with the Fitbit. So with the Fitbit, it has also recent and frequent as well as custom.
Oh.
So if you use something very often, you don't even have to scan
Yeah, I
it.
think
You
it-
can-
Yeah, it's just there.
And if it's something that you use
Yeah.
Yeah.
frequently,
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just the
makes
Yeah.
I know I need to get into routine and getting into
Well-
good habits, but
The other thing as well is something you can do is just have pretty much the same meals most of the time. You can find the variability in your food on the weekend. If you're an eagle wanted to go out for dinner, that would be something that you could plan. But like Monday to Friday, I'm pretty much having the same breakfast at the moment, like every day, because it's just easy. I know exactly how much it is. My variation might be I'll use hot sauce instead of brown sauce. Like that's it, right? But that's enough of variation for me that I'm just like, okay, yeah, that ticks a few boxes. So if you're having like your protein yogurt, change the types of berries, change the seasoning on top, change the nuts or whatever it may be. That could be a way of just having that variability, but you could make it in your sleep, right? Like Lizzie says. At some point, it just becomes like, yep, I know exactly what this is. I don't need to track, I've just got it. The hard bit with tracking is when you do go out and go out for meals, because you have no idea. A lot of places now do have calories on their menus, but
Yeah, I found that if I went out for a meal, I didn't worry.
No.
I stopped worrying. I used to. It used to
Yeah.
happen to me, like confess. It was like
Yeah.
going to a freaking priest every week.
yeah.
But,
Give me 3 Hail Marys and yeah.
But it was like, I actually stopped worrying. So last weekend I went out to London with a girlfriend and I didn't even worry about it. I had the best lunch. It was the best day. I haven't put on a single pound because
Yeah.
I just didn't worry about it and I just enjoyed the meal.
Hmm.
Just, don't stress.
I think if you make your weeks relatively low calories, as in you're probably under your caloric target, Monday to Friday, it just gives you, we call it calorie banking, but it just saves you some extra calories for the weekend, so you can go out for the meal without stressing and being like, oh my god, I've only got 500 calories for this meal. Almost impossible if you're going out to have that.
Realisation that one meal in a restaurant isn't going to put on the 18 kilos that you've taken on.
Yeah.
You're back on the scales the next day, and that's it. Poof, a kilo.
Yeah, but for a day. Yeah, but for a day.
I
And then
know,
it's back off again.
Yeah, but that's why the last newsletter that Nathan sent out
I
was
know.
really good with the, you eat something really salty or something quite high in carbs,
Yeah.
and then the next day, because you drank a lot of water, you're like,
Yeah.
where did that 3 kilos
Yeah, I literally-
grams come from? The next day afterwards, it goes back down again. So that's why
To get- That's why we do the daily weigh-ins as well, so you don't freak out. Because if I had weighed myself Wednesday to Wednesday, I would have not lost weight. I was exactly the same, right? But every other day was down between that. But from a mindset perspective, if I weighed myself on a Wednesday, because Wednesday is my weigh-in day or whatever, I would have been like, oh, nothing's changed. Motivation, gone. You're just like, what's the point? Can't be bothered. And then all the wheels fall off the wagon, right? That's why we try and have the self-monitoring, the consistent weigh-ins. It's as much keeping your head clear and motivated and on target, not letting your emotions kind of pull you this way and every way, because you will feel more emotional when you're in a caloric deficit. Yeah, it does happen. Yeah. You will, yeah. I was all over the shop. My last, I did a photo shoot a couple of years ago, and I was, like the tiniest little thing. I was like stomping around, just like, what the hell's going on? Didn't like it. Yeah.
There's one last thing I thought about on your slide, if I may, is I laughed when it came up, and it was kind of when you said things that are healthy and keep them out in view. Put the chocolate in a cupboard. Paul, Nathan knows this, but Paul puts all my chocolate in a tub, and it's on top of the cupboards, and I have to get a ladder.
So you really need to be able to be
Yeah.
able to get it. Like, I want that
No,
piece
but
of
I don't.
chocolate.
I know exactly where it is. Every night he says, "Do you want chocolate?" And I'm like, "No, I just don't." And every now and then I will. But he buys the minis, he buys the party pack sizes, the little fun sizes, and on them. And the other really good thing for ice cream is, he knows this as well, is the Morrison's Amore range. They do mini magnums, box of like 9 or 12, whatever it is. And then you just get a lovely little one, and it's, I can't remember how
Do you know what I do know?
Yeah.
Again, he fetches it for me, and it's a bit slave sounding, but if he gets it,
I know, but what I do now is with the Greek yogurt, I put my protein and I put it in the freezer, so I make mini in the thing, and that's what I do. So at least it's the
Texture, the consistency,
It's a consistency on ice cream, but I don't have all the sugars and everything that are in it.
yeah, but I need to have chocolate at some point.
Well, you put chocolate on it. Dark chocolate.
Exactly.
Protein chocolate.
Go.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are all protein powders the same?
No.
So how do you choose a good protein powder? Like,
Very good question. Yes, there's a couple of brands that I recommend. One is Trained by JP. He's actually this mutant bodybuilder. I actually went to university with him, but he's very, very smart. But the quality of the protein they make is very high, so it's all like grass-fed, organic, that kind of stuff. Ideally, you want to go for a whey protein isolate. So that has got less of the lactose in there, so it might be slightly easier on your gut. Okay, even if you don't have lactose intolerant, probably better to just be easier in your gut. Always go for the plain flavors like vanilla, chocolate, strawberry. Don't go for the cinnamon swirl, the blueberry muffin, the thing, because after about 2 goes, you're like, oh, for God's sake, I've got to eat this for the next 2 months. Like, go simple, then you can add flavor on there. They're the brands that I recommend. There are no female whey proteins, there are no male whey proteins. Again, it's marketing fluff. It's just marketing confusion. Pink whey protein, diet whey, no, it's garbage. Whey protein isolate, that is generally the one that I would highly recommend.
yeah.
I use bulk. I go with the
So I've got the TG whatever in the office. That's what helps me when I get a craving of chocolate or something. I have my protein
Yeah.
there. But I'm just wondering, is there like what are good protein sources of
fromage frais, factory fromage frais is another nice one. It just rings the change on the yogurt, and you can add your powders into that flavour, and then add fruit. That works as well.
Yeah.
Never actually
The-
spoke to Lizzie's house.
There are different types of protein powders. There's like whey protein concentrate. There's other things as well, but generally I recommend the isolate because it's the highest amount of protein, lowest amount of calories, easiest on your digestion. That would be my go-to for that. But good question. I think. Oh yeah, the last bit, the fat loss equation. Right. So all of these things, fat loss equals being in a caloric deficit, having adequate amounts of protein and fiber, exercise, some kind of training, sleeping well, managing your stress, but then the brackets of all of that is you have to be consistent with all of those things. You can't just do a calorie deficit for a week and then kind of fall off. You can't just eat protein sort of when you remember. You can't just train infrequently. You can't just sleep one good night a week. All those things, you want to be as consistent as you can. That is how you get the sort of long-term results that you're looking for. There will be times in your life where you'll get less sleep. Currently going through it at the moment. Did I mention it? I'm getting not a lot of sleep. But that's fine because there are other things that I can control, like being in deficit, protein, my training, managing stress as much as possible. That's how I'm currently getting results at the moment. But it's like I said, there will be periods in your life when you'll go up and down. But as long as you can stay relatively consistent with all of those things, that's how you keep kind of fat loss off, ideally forever or for as long as you possibly can. keeping it simple is one thing, is 100%. I think that's probably one of the underlying things about your transformation last year is you just kept it pretty simple. There was nothing complex, no worrying about what time you're eating or this and that and all these other confusing terms. It's just really consistent, hitting your protein target, being in a caloric deficit, done.
Talking to you.
Talk to me. Well, having accountability is massive. Again, that's kind of what part of the reason why you guys are here is for us to keep you accountable. It massively helps. I have a coach at the moment. My coach is keeping me accountable. You might think, he's a trainer, he should know what he's doing. I do know what I'm doing, but having someone keeping me accountable is keeping me honest. Because as a coach, I know all the tricks and things I could do, so I can be like, oh, okay, actually maybe this weekend I can get away with that and then do a bit more this time. No, you've got to sometimes just hand over the reins to someone else. Let them make the decisions for you, have a sounding board that can kind of help you go as you go. Cool. Any questions? Because I think that is it.
I'd like to say thank you for helping me get there, genuinely.
You're very welcome, Lizzie. No. And you've done me proud in the last year because I know, obviously, having known you for so long and the struggles you've had with your weight and then changing jobs and all these other kinds of things, and then you've done incredibly. You've ticked all the boxes. Really. So
Yeah, he's a big part.
if I had gold stars, I would give out gold stars. So yeah.
The big collaboration.
Yeah. Lovely. Right. I would like, or we kind of discussed about putting these seminars on at the last Wednesday of each month. Is there anything beyond any nutrition stuff that you guys would like to go over or delve into a little bit more? Because we kind of feel we want to work on building up this community, and I think that's definitely one of the things like Slimming World Weight Watchers have got right. There's a lot of things they've got wrong, but one of the big things they've got right is that community feel where you guys can encourage, talk to each other, come up with questions, hopefully come out with more understanding of what you're trying to do. So if there's questions or things that you would want me to go over, so like Jack mentioned food labels last time, if there's anything else you want me to dive deeper into, whether it is understanding tracking a bit better, talking about different supplements, whatever it may be, please let us know. The board's always in here, so we can kind of write stuff up as we go in the week. You don't have to think of it tonight. But yeah, like I said, I think we want to try and do this at the end of last Wednesday of each month. So that is, because this is a short month, 4 weeks today. So, awesome. Cool. Right, thank you. You're welcome. Sweet. Right.